Today's lesson is Monuments and Medals. Paris gets ready for the 2024 Summer Olympics. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike.
And I'm Roger. And of course, as you know, the Olympics are going on in Paris this year, this month, in fact. So that's why we're going to be talking about the city of Paris, but not so much about the Olympics. We're actually going to be talking about Paris itself. And of course, Paris is full of monuments, but there are also medals there because of the Olympics. And Paris has gotten itself ready for the 2024 Summer Olympics, and the world is looking and watching France to see how the games go.
Absolutely. It's going to be really exciting, but if you're not going to Paris this summer, if you're not a fan of the Olympics, it might be a good idea to kind of skip it because the city will be very crowded. But there are 1,000 other great things to do in Paris any other time of the year or any other year. So the things that we'll be reading in today's article will be true for people who are lucky enough to get there for the Olympics, or if, like others, you might be saying, maybe in 2025 after the Olympics, you can still find lots of good stuff from our article over 2 days to do and enjoy while you're in beautiful Paris, France. So let's find out all about it in the first part of the article. Monuments and Medals. Paris gets ready for the 2024 Summer Olympics. Known variously as the City of Love, the City of Light, and the Capital of Fashion, Paris has a new title this year, the City of Sport. This summer, the Olympic flame is burning in the historic city, bringing fun and drama to its 2 million residents and visiting fans alike. For travelers, the 2024 Games promise a unique way to enjoy Paris, a 2,000-year-old metropolis buzzing with the spirit of athletic competition.
大家好，标题中介绍名词 monument， 它的意思是纪念碑、纪念塔、纪念馆，也可以是历史遗迹的意思。例如 The park features a monument to a former president. 该公园里以一座前总统的纪念碑为特色。或者 Stonehenge is one of the world's most famous ancient monuments. 巨石阵是世界上最知名的古代遗址之一。再来看到名词 resident， 表示居民或是住户。例如 The residents of the small town voted to build a new library. 该小镇的居民投票决定建造一座新的图书馆。继续看到形容词 athletic， 它的意思是运动的、运动员的或是擅长运动的。例如 Most schools today have athletic programs where students can play all sorts of sports. 如今大多数学校都备有各种体育课程，可以供学生参加。也可以说 Ariel is good at most athletic activities. Ariel 擅长大部分的体育活动。接着介绍名词 competition， 表示竞赛、比赛或是竞争。我们可以说 The winner of the dance competition gets a cash prize. 舞蹈竞赛的获胜者可获得奖金。又或者说Small businesses have to deal with competition from big brands. 小企业必须应对大品牌的竞争。
Okay, so again, we're talking about Paris, and first of all, we're talking about all the monuments that are in Paris, which are sort of like statues that commemorate something that happened in the past. Like in Washington, D.C., they have the Washington Monument, and there are other monuments all over the world. Are there monuments here in Taiwan?
Oh, sure. Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall.
Right, that's kind of a monument.
That would be one.
Indeed. There's a monument in the 228 Park there. They've got that sculpture there. That's a monument.
Exactly.
To remind people of what happened in the past. So yes, Paris is full of monuments, but it's also full of medals. That's what you get when you win an Olympic competition. You get the gold, silver, or bronze if you're lucky to get first, second, or third place. And yes, Paris is getting ready for the Olympics that are taking place this year. We should mention that there are different ways to refer to these games. You can say the Olympics, okay, with an S at the end of Olympics there, or you could say the Olympic Games. In that case, Olympic does not have an S, but the Games does, so that's where the S is there. The Olympic Games or the Olympics, or sometimes just simply the games.
Or the Olympiad, if you want to be very fancy. But yes, of course, we're talking about the Summer Olympics, not to be confused with the Winter Olympics, which will be 2 years from now and will not be in Paris. So let's look at the article. It says, known variously as the city of love, the city of light, and the capital of fashion, Paris has a new title this year, the city of sport. So there you go. Like a lot of great world cities, Paris has a few nicknames that it's gotten over the years. The city of love, it's very romantic, right? A lot of people think of love and romance when they go to Paris, strolling along the Seine, hand in hand with their lover. The city of light, because it was one of the first cities to be fully electrified. So back in the 1800s, when having lots of electric lights around the city was still relatively new and modern wonder of science, Paris was famous for that. And the capital of fashion, many of the great fashion houses of the world, of course, like Dior and Chanel and whatnot, they have their headquarters, and a lot of the clothes actually are still made in the ateliers of the fashion district of Paris, so that is still very much true. It's the capital of fashion. And Paris now has a new title, the city of sport. And yeah, no prizes for guessing the fact this is because it's the Summer Olympics host this summer.
Exactly. I've also heard the term Gay Paris to refer to Paris as well, which probably is not used so often anymore. But in any case, these are various names for Paris here. And especially this year, it's referred to as the city of sport. And this summer, the Olympic flame is burning in the historic city, bringing fun and drama to its 2 million residents and visiting fans alike. So that's what's happening this summer. When the Olympics are taking place, you will see the Olympic flame burning. They start by lighting the torch in Greece somewhere, and then they jog or they transport it in various ways to the host city, and then they light the Olympic flame there at the stadium. And so the Olympic flame is burning there. Again, Paris is an historic city. It's been around for many years. And it's a fun city, and of course it's also bringing drama to the city. A lot of new excitement, a lot of things happening, and this is happening to the 2 million residents who live there. A resident, of course, is somebody who lives in a particular place. We are all residents of Taiwan, unless you're listening to this program somewhere else. And of course, we're going to have visiting fans too. They're all going to be in Paris to enjoy the same thing.
And for travelers, for tourists, for people who don't live there but will be going there. So for travelers, the 2024 Games promise a unique way to enjoy Paris, a 2,000-year-old metropolis buzzing with the spirit of athletic competition. So there you go. Yes, if you are lucky enough to go to Paris, you are in for a treat. You'll get a very unique way, a very sort of special and unusual way to enjoy this city because of the games. They'll be transforming parts of the main city center into actual venues for the sports. We'll learn about that in a second. But even without the games, or if you're lucky enough with the games this year, there's a lot to enjoy in a 2,000-year-old metropolis buzzing with this spirit of athletic competition. Paris is old. Paris is 2,000 years old. There has been a city in that location stretching back at least 2,000 years to the time of the Romans, when I believe Paris was known as Lutetia, which is no longer the name, but that was the original name. And so when we're talking about a big city, a city with millions of people, especially a big famous sort of world city, as I said before, a metropolis is a pretty good term. So anything that certainly has more than 1 million people, probably several million people, cities like New York, London, Paris, Sydney, Australia, Taipei, this would be a metropolis as well. Yep, you can use that term. And it will be buzzing with the spirit. When something is buzzing with spirit or buzzing with excitement, there's this sort of electric feeling in the air. This excitement, this enthusiasm, people are probably waiting for something to happen, or it's going on at that moment, and it kind of gives a special energy to a place. And you know how energy, when it goes down an electrical line, can kind of buzz. You can hear that sound of the electricity. It's the same kind of idea. Or bees. Bees are always buzzing around. They're always energetic, busy, doing stuff, socializing with other bees. So this kind of idea of energy and excitement because of the spirit of athletic competition. And well, it's the Olympics. It's all about athletics and competition.
Athletic does refer to physical activities, sports, and things like that. An athlete, of course, is somebody who participates in a sport. And so we've got athletic competition. In other words, we've got sports competitions going on in various disciplines, with gymnastics, with track and field, with boxing, racing. There are all sorts of different sorts of sports going on. And of course, there are lots of athletes from different countries in Paris at the same time. So it's going to be buzzing with activity, with all the fans there and with all the competitors. It's the place to be this year. Okay, we're at the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's go on now to the second part and talk some more about Paris's history with the Olympics.
Paris has a rich Olympic history, having hosted the Games twice before, in 1900 and 1924. This year, it joins a very small club of cities that have hosted the Olympics 3 times, an honor currently shared only with London. All right, so Paris, it says, has a rich Olympic history, having hosted the Games twice before, in 1900 and 1924. Very, very interesting. So, this is not the first time that Paris has hosted the Olympics. It has a rich Olympic history, a long and interesting Olympic history. It's actually hosted the Games 3 times now, but twice before in 1900 and 1924, but not in a long time. And now that's interesting. It was exactly 100 years ago that they hosted the Olympics last in Paris. Very cool. This year, it says it joins a very small club of cities that have hosted the Olympics 3 times, an honor currently shared only with London. So it joins a club of 1 previously. Now it's a club of 2 that have hosted the Olympics twice. Paris now is in that 3-timers club along with London as experienced hosts of the Olympics going back over 100 years. Very, very cool.
Must be a good place to host the Olympics because they're probably going to occur there again sometime in the future.
A lot of hotels. They don't have to build a lot of hotels to accommodate all the visitors.
They've already got a pretty good infrastructure for visitors because lots of people love to go to Paris. A lot of people have the life dream of going to Paris someday. Although I haven't really thought about going there myself so much. I'd rather go to London or Tokyo or places like that. But who knows, maybe someday I will go to the City of Light myself. Okay, we're at the end of the second part of our lesson for today. Let's talk some more and listen to the third part.
Several of Paris's iconic tourist spots have been transformed into temporary sports venues for the Games. Fans will watch the world's best beach volleyball teams face off in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower. In the city's largest public square, Place de la Concorde, skateboarders and breakers will battle for gold. And the Seine will play host to the open water swimming contest, as long as the notoriously dirty river can be cleaned up in time.
"第3部分看到形容词 iconic， 它的意思是具代表性的或是非常著名的。例如 The Eiffel Tower is an iconic landmark in Paris. 埃菲尔铁塔是巴黎的标志性地标。又或者说Monet is one of the iconic artists of the mid-20th century. 莫内是20世纪中叶最具代表性的艺术家之一。我们继续来介绍 transform 这个单字，它是动词，指的是彻底改变或是转换。举例来说 A fresh coat of paint can transform a room's appearance. 一层新的油漆可以彻底改变房间的外观。又或者说 Climate change is transforming the environment. 气候变迁正在改变环境。再来看到名词 venue， 表示事件或是活动的发生场所、举办地点、会场。例如 The wedding venue was decorated with flowers and lights. 该婚礼场地装饰着许多鲜花和灯光。也可以说 Matt's band is playing a show at an outdoor venue. Matt 的乐团正在一个户外场地表演。最后看到副词 notoriously，表示声名狼藉的、恶名昭彰的。我们可以说 Bob is notoriously difficult to please, which makes him a challenging boss. Bob 声名狼藉的难以取悦，这使他成为一个令人难对付的老板。也可以说 This area is notoriously dangerous after dark. 这个地区在天黑后恶名昭彰的危险。
right, we are back with the third and final part of today's look at Paris, both the city and the city as a host of the Olympic Games. Let's talk about some of the changes that you'll notice to some of these very famous locations in Paris. Tourists will go there, but for the Games, they'll be slightly altered, slightly repurposed in interesting ways. It says several of Paris's iconic tourist spots have been transformed into temporary sports venues for the Games. That's right. Now, of course, some of the sports, like the swimming or the athletics, will take place in proper sports venues, proper swimming pools and track and field arenas and stadiums and things like that. But some other sports will be moved to sort of unusual, interesting locations in some of these iconic tourist spots. If something's iconic, it's very, very famous. It's well known. If you see it, you probably recognize it, even if you're not that familiar with it. Like the Mona Lisa is an iconic painting. In this month's magazine, we talked about the Leaning Tower of Pisa, a very iconic building. Even if you've never been to Italy or Pisa, you see that, you know what it is. So it's famous, it's important, it's historic, and everybody recognizes it. Some of these tourist spots have been transformed or changed or altered into temporary sports venues. So if something is transformed, it's changed over time, probably. If you're working on transforming a house, you might be rebuilding the house, repainting the house, changing where the doors and windows are, until it basically, in the end, looks almost like a completely new house. We also see things transform in nature, the way a worm or a caterpillar might transform into a butterfly over time. So it's changing over time, either naturally or because of what people do to it. And in this case, people are going to be changing some of these beautiful tourist spots into beautiful sports venues.
Right, a venue, of course, is where something takes place. So again, these are places where the sports are going to be performed by the athletes, and we'll talk about some of those venues right now. For example, fans will watch the world's best beach volleyball teams face off in the shadow of the Eiffel Tower. So they're probably going to drag in some sand somewhere and fill in a lot there that's right next to the Eiffel Tower, and they're going to have the beach volleyball competition at that location. Normally, beach volleyball would probably be played at a beach by the ocean. They probably can't play beach volleyball where the Normandy invasion took place. That would be probably pretty inappropriate. But in this particular case, the beach volleyball, I should say, these games will take place next to the Eiffel Tower in some sand lot there.
Imagine those pictures from the TV of the athletes jumping and spiking and setting that ball with the Eiffel Tower in the background. That is going to be very interesting. It says, in the city's largest public square, Place de la Concorde, skateboarders and breakers will battle for gold. So not too far from the Eiffel Tower, Place de la Concorde, which is a big open plaza or square that you might call it in another city. They'll be transforming that. It's kind of an open area, so it won't be too hard to transform. There's some big statues and a big monument there, but they'll be changing that into the place where two events will occur, skateboarding and breaking. So both riding skateboards over ramps and doing jumps and things like that, and the breakdancing event, or breaking as it's called, which will appear in the Olympics for the very first time, will both happen there. When we say the athletes will battle for gold, that means basically they'll engage in competition, they'll play each other, and of course, in the end, a winner will come out of it. I find it really interesting, this one. Back in the late 1700s, they were cutting people's heads off.
Oh, no.
In Place de la Concorde with the guillotine during the Revolution. And fast forward a couple hundred years, and here we are breakdancing in the same place. How the world has changed.
I wonder how many of the competitors will realize that they're playing in a place where blood was spilled hundreds of years before. That might give them some incentive to win the competition. Who knows? But again, this is what's going to happen at this particular plaza in Paris: skateboarding and breakdancing. And the Seine will play host to the open water swimming contest as long as the notoriously dirty river can be cleaned up in time. So if you play host to something, that means people are going to come to where you are for a particular event. So you're going to be the host there. In this particular case, the Seine River will be where the water swimming contest takes place. But this has to depend on the condition of the river, because The Seine River is notoriously dirty. If something's notorious, it's famous for a bad reason. Okay, so we could say Los Angeles is notorious for its air pollution. It's got really bad air pollution. It's well known for that, but it's not something they would like to be well known for.
All right, that's all the time we have, but we'll have more tomorrow from Paris, so please do join us for that. But now let's go over to our gold medal winning Chinese teacher, Hanny.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第3部分的第一句提到，巴黎几个具代表性的旅游景点已经被改造成奥运的临时体育场馆。那文中用到动词 transform 来表达改造。那我们来学它的字首字根。先看到 form 这个字根，它表示形式、形状、塑形或者是使成型的意思。那么在 transform 这个字当中，它的字首 trans 这部分表示穿越或者是转变， form 表示形状形式，合在一起 transform 就有使转变转换改变改造的意思。好，那顺便补充几个有相同字根的单字。第一个是 uniform， 它的字首 uni 这部分表示单一， form 是形状，那么 uniform 它可以当形容词来表达一致的不变的，当名词可以表达制服的意思。好，那第二个补充的是 perform， 它的字首 per 是完全的意思， form 是形状。那同学们可以试着联想，当我们把某事物的形状样貌完全的呈现出来，完全的表现出来，就不难联想到 perform 它有执行、履行、完成或者是表演演出的意思了。好，那第三个补充的是 conform， 它的字首 con 它有共同的意思， form 是形式。好，那当每个人做事情都是依照相同的形式，按照共同的规范，就可以联想到 conform 它有遵守、配合或是符合的意思。另外文中它还有用到 temporary sports venues 来指临时体育场馆。那么 venue 在这边就是指说可能是事件、活动等等它的场所、举办地点。而这个单字作为字根的时候，它有 come 到来的意思，我们就来补充这个字根。好， venue venue 还有 vent vent 这一类字根它表示 come 就是来啊、到来或者是出现的意思。像 event活动事件的这个字啊，还有 invent 发明等等，它们其实都会跟这个到来出现有关。那这边我们要补充2个带有这一类字根的单字。第一个是 advent advent 它的字首 ad 表示 to 就是朝向，字根 vent 它表示到来，那从字面意思来看就是指 come to， 所以 advent 它具有问世或是出现的意思。第二个补充的是 revenue， 它的字首 re 表示 back 往回， venue 表示 come 到来，所以字面意思来看它就是 come back， 那也就是回来的意思咯。那我们可以用收回来的钱收入去联想到 revenue， 它是指像这个公司收益啊、政府的税收等等的意思。好，那么以上今天的重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Monument. This park has a monument that is dedicated to the people who fought in foreign wars. Resident. In a small town like this one, all of the residents know one another. Athletic. Kim doesn't have much athletic talent, but she still enjoys playing soccer and tennis. Competition. Hugh and Mike are engaged in a friendly competition to win the lead role in the school play. Transform. Mr. Perry wants to transform his old garage into an art studio. Venue. Brooke and Dwight have chosen a lovely village church as the venue for their wedding. Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Roger. See you next time.